Hello and welcome back to this series where we follow Nurgyul Salimov's performance in the World Women's Candidates Tournament in Toronto, Canada, fighting to be a contender for the World Championship match in chess in 2024. In round 3, Nurgyul played Vaishali R. The two outsiders are playing with each other, two of the most exciting female players, which are the lowest rated in this tournament, but definitely have already asked some tough questions to the other players. So we have Nurgyul today in black, and let's jump to the action right away. We have got e4 and e5, and again, for like in round 1, Nurgyul chooses to play the Petrov Russian game against her opponent. In round 1 this netted her a draw against Anna Muzichuk, but today Vaishali is choosing a different popular line to continue, and the players continue as standard in this game. With exchanging the e-pawns and then opening with what is called Nimzovich attack, which basically means exchanging the knight on c3 for the black knight that's in the center and opening up the diagonal for the bishop on c1. We have standard development up until move 10, which is in this position. We have a long castle for white and a short castle for black, which means that there will be imbalances in the position, and it is less likely to be a draw and more likely that one of the two sides will prevail. And in this position there are many hundreds of games between the masters, but not with what Vaishali has chosen to do on the next turn. It's one of it's a very surprising move that has been played very few times historically. The main moves here are to develop the bishop to d3, or to move king to safety to b1, or perhaps to add extra development on the queen side with a3. However, she chose to do none of these moves, but to develop the bishop, which is currently on e3, again to d4. So it's an interesting move. It's a rare move. It's not in any ways a risky or dangerous move, but it's something that absolutely Nurgyul was not expecting. And she countered it with bishop from c8 to d7, which she herself said is a passive move, but she thought it's okay and continues the game in a way that aligns with her goals of achieving a good opening and getting out of the opening unscathed. Vaishali continues with h4, which the computer doesn't particularly like. She really makes her intentions clear that she is going to be attacking in this game, opposite side castles on the board, and she really wants to attack early the white king. The way to refute this is by playing h6, which is something Nurgyul decided not to do. Instead she decided to develop the rook to e8. But basically by playing h6, if you chose to do that, you gain control over the square on g5, not allowing a queen or more likely a knight to be placed on that square. Instead, Nurgyul decided to play rook to e8. It's still a move that I think is sound from the point of view of developing and seizing control of an open file, but it allows, anyways, Nurgyul is basically saying, Vaishali, I know what you're going to do. I'm inviting you to continue executing your plan, which of course she does, jumping with knight to g5. And now Nurgyul plays h6 to kick out the knight, but the knight is not moving anywhere because actually Vaishali would encourage Nurgyul to take it. She plays bishop to d3, adding extra pressure on the white king. If you see, all of white's pieces are already developed that are very menacing towards the white king, and actually Vaishali would benefit greatly if Nurgyul took the knight on the g5 now. This would be to white's benefit. It's something that no serious chess player would do because of the amount of pieces looking at the white king, combined with the rook being completely freed to attack the king on h8. It would be a blunder to take the knight in this position. So instead Nurgyul plays what's the best move, and the move that computer suggests continues the equality in the game. But this equality is on the basis of the fact that white doesn't have a specific concrete plan to attack the white king. Objectively, it might be equal, but for humans it would be much more difficult to be black in this position, since all your pieces are very passive and the attack for white is going on. And what happens now is the attack begins. So sacrificing the knight on f7, basically attacking the queen, so more or less the king has to take it. This move is commented as brilliant by the chess by the chess.com, sorry, engine, and it's one of the two sacrifices that define this game. This is a brilliant sacrifice by Vaishali, which is met, of course, with taking the knight. It's still the best move in the position to take it, and the position is equal, but the attack only gets stronger and the black king is much more exposed. What we've got after that is a check by bishop c4, only move to continue the attack well, and best move by Nurgyul here is retreating the king. Notice that she cannot come to e6 and defend with the bishop, because after the bishops are exchanged, the queen will step in on e2 and fork the king, which would be on e6 with the knight, leading to a quick loss for black. So Nurgyul sees that, of course, and retreats her king over to f8. And the attack continues by Vaishali putting her queen on d3 and presumably looking at this long diagonal or maybe some checks from its own side in order to continue the pressure for the king. So, critical moment in the game where the best move would be bishop to f6. And mind you, if you remember, Nurgyul is up a piece. So this would probably solidify her position to the point of keeping the equality, because after exchanging and allowing the queen to come on h7, it is still better and a long game where Vaishali might have in the future the upper hand or better chances to win, but definitely not a quick win. And Nurgyul has an extra piece that might be sacrificed for defending later. However, she decides to make a sacrifice now, and unlike the first sacrifice, this is not a good one. This is the first bad move I've seen by Nurgyul in this tournament, and it is bishop to g5. So what she's saying with that is, I need to, first of all, make some space in a very cramped defensive line, but also she wanted to be captured here because she thought this way at least she's going to avoid the checkmate, and this is the time to return the sacrifice in order to defend better. This is not a good move, as the computer suggests. It's actually a full blunder that loses the game on the spot, but it's not so obvious and clear how to win in a few moves. So actually, interestingly, Vaishali trusted Nurgyul that this is a sound move and moved away with her king instead of taking right away. So she was probably worried that after taking and taking back with the queen, she will be again under check. And after the king moves that time, the queen can do some more defensive work, being on the square g5, and this way she will be able to slide it over, or maybe offer a exchange of queens on f5, which would lead to a position that's more drawn because now the queens are off the board. So Vaishali actually trusted Nurgyul's judgment and moved over her king. So we still have equality, or near equality, much better, 0.7 for white compared to what we've had if Vaishali simply took the pawn, but in any case she didn't do it. However, Nurgyul's next move is a full blunder, which is knight to e5, again trying to add more defensive resources to her, but this time not moving the bishop away is even worse, moving it back to f6, and unfortunately this loses the game pretty quickly, and it is looking like Nurgyul will be recording her first loss of the tournament. Immediately this knight is taken. It's the only way to continue the attack. Now Nurgyul finally, after just losing a knight, realizes that bishop to f6 all along was the most sound defensive resource. But Vaishali does not simply exchange these bishops. That would not be as good as the clean ending that she did, which was to take first a pawn on d6. Again, another brilliant move. Nurgyul, of course, recaptures, and now the pawn is captured again. So Vaishali has sacrificed the second piece, but it's not really a sacrifice because it's very temporary, since after taking two pawns with this bishop and giving this check, now she also reclaims a bishop right away. So a very temporary second sacrifice by Vaishali, but now she's basically equal on pieces, but leading with 3 pawns already. And after the queens are exchanged, now she even has an ability to collect quickly a 4th pawn. So I know opposite color and bishops lead to draws, even if you have many pawns, like 1 or 2 pawns usually in on your side advantage, but with 4 more pawns there is nothing more that can be done. And unfortunately, after two spectacular sacrifices, one of them good and one of them really bad. Nurgyul records her first loss just a couple of moves after the position liquidated, and unfortunately is left with 1 point out of 3 in the first round. But really congratulations to Vaishali. As you can see, the final position is here, since there is really nothing going on for black. So if we look at this position, one of the 4 extra pawns for Vaishali controls the 2 pawns on the king side. They can't really progress, just using h5 to control 2 pawns. There are 2 passed pawns on the c file, and there is extra pawns on both sides of the board. So overall, Nurgyul decided here on move 33 to resign, and to basically admit that earlier, especially the move knight e5, but even the move before bishop to g5, was not a good way to defend against a very, very powerful attack. I really found it interesting that psychologically Vaishali trusted Nurgyul with the decision to play bishop g5 and not take it the first time, but after the next move it became too good to not start bringing the game to an endgame. And again, we'll see what happens in round 4. I still am a massive fan of Nurgyul, and I hope she manages to show some of the more attacking flair that we're used to seeing, and also to defend better, as we've seen her do, especially in the World Cup. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.